Hello, my name is Linda Santiso, and I was fortunate to be married to Raymond Santiso for over 46 years. And today I'm taking a few minutes to introduce you to his legacy. The Immigrants Who Built America, My Father's Footsteps Through Ellis Island. The story is based on my husband's father, Ramon Santiso, who came to this country in 1918. And the stories are absolutely true. Now, a few have been lightly fictionalized to improve the narrative, but you can believe everything that's in the book. My husband was inspired to write the book during a trip to New York City. At that time, the Statue of Liberty was undergoing restoration, and they had all kinds of fundraisers, and one of which, if you made a contribution, you could have your ancestor's name engraved on the Wall of Honor on Ellis Island. We did that. And my husband took a trip to New York City to see it firsthand. And it was as he was standing there looking at his father's name and all those other names written on that wall that he knew that he had to tell his father's story. The world needed to know the story of the immigrants who built this country. Ramon Santiso faced very many struggles during his early days in this country. And actually, the very first struggle that he faced was a change in culture. And that occurred when he went through immigration on Ellis Island. The immigrants would line up, and inside the Great Hall, there would be rows of tables with immigration officers sitting at the tables. You walked up, presented your paperwork, and then they took it from there. And while he was sitting there and the inspector was looking at the paperwork, he noticed that he had used his mother's maiden name as his surname. And he mentioned that to Ramon, and he said, well, that's the way we do it in Spain. And he says, well, Ramon, you're in America now. Your father's name is your surname, so you're no longer Ramon Quiroga, you're Ramon Santiso. And it was later when the Ellis Island ferry dropped him off at Battery Park in New York City that he stood there, one small suitcase in his hand, and he said, Ramon, new country, new language, new money, and they even gave you a new name. At that period of time in history, bigotry was rampant. Everyone hated the immigrants, regardless of their nationality. The working conditions and living conditions were deplorable for the immigrants at that time, and nothing was ever done to see that justice would be served for them. Reason why? When immigrants came to this country, they had to remain here and live here for 20 years before they ever could apply for citizenship. So lawmakers and politicians had no incentive to help them. Why? They couldn't vote. Well, I don't need to tell you that immigration is a very hot topic in our country today. And my husband was extremely amazed at how little Americans knew about the history of immigration. And you know, it's often said that if we do not understand where we have been, we cannot move forward, we cannot go anywhere. And this book helps cover that knowledge gap that's in our world regarding the immigration process. And it helps the reader to compare the then to the now while still remaining entertaining to read. The readers enjoy learning about Ramon Quiroga. He's an interesting man. They enjoy the journey. But one thing happens while they're reading his story is that they begin to understand what their ancestors went through when they came to the country. This makes them sad over what they had to leave behind to come here. They become shocked and outraged over the living and working conditions that they had to endure. But the number one thing that I have heard over and over again is, I didn't know that. This book was written for anyone that enjoys history and anyone that wants to know more about their heritage. You know, my husband entitled the book, The Immigrants Who Built America, not The Immigrant Who Built America, because he wanted that story to represent the over 12 million people that came to America through Ellis Island during its 50-year history. He absolutely loved and enjoyed writing the story of his father because he knew that through that one story, he could pay homage to the immigrants who literally built this country.